Okay, so welcome back. In the last tutorial, we've been going through and actually creating this new theme right here. So I wanted to save the slideshow part until the end. So right here you'll see this is the slideshow that we're going to be building, and it's in jQuery. So this one is, I think, built on WordPress. I'm not exactly sure what slideshow script it's using or anything like that. But the one we are going to use for our purposes is if you actually go to LayerSlider, if you Google that, it'll take you to this website right here. And we're actually going to be using this one, but not the WordPress version, just the regular PHP version. I'm not sure exactly how to get there, but somewhere around here. Let's see. So just trying to find the one that would be using here. Okay, so I'm on their actual user page. Here's the WordPress one. Here's just the regular LayerSlider. So this is the one that we're using, and you can see here it actually costs $10. But it's a pretty sweet slider because it gives you a lot of different options here. I'm viewing a demo of it, but you can actually see here it puts each kind of part, you can have it on its own layer. So like this text, it can be, these images, these can all be independent, so that when it actually does animate, which it should do here in a second, you can see they all kind of did their own thing. Also, you can play videos on it like this, and so overall it's a pretty good slider. So that's what we're going to be using. So I actually have already purchased this. So I just went on this website, purchase, blah blah blah, and then it, I think, sends you a download link, and then you end up with something like this. So these are the files that you get, and you could go through and read the documentation if you need to see how to install it. But it's pretty straightforward. You pretty much just need to upload these LayerSlider, this whole LayerSlider folder onto your server. So if you come here, you can see I actually already did that. Now I actually have a whole module that is built out around this, but I'm not going to be using this module for this tutorial because I don't want to use any real custom stuff. But I do have the files located here, so I'm going to be calling these files from this sites all module slideshow LayerSlider directory. But I'm not going to be using any of the Drupal module or anything. I'm just going to be doing it all just kind of in a block. So yeah, what you would do is you would take these files, this LayerSlider, drop it over, and then you would have something like this. And then inside of that folder, you have just like this. You have your CSS, jQuery, JS, and skins. So this is just this is the actual JavaScript that runs it. This is just jQuery, and then it's a CSS just to kind of stylize a few things, and then skins if you wanted to actually have a certain skin. We're not even going to use a skin. We're just going to build our own just kind of thing on top of it. So I'll show you that. So then we have that installed right here. So I'm going to actually now start building this out. So if we go back to this website here, I'm going to print screen this real quick just to take it into Photoshop. And let me close this out real quick. Okay, so I'm going to paste this in. So here's the slide. And something to notice here, so when we built this site, we built it at 960 pixels for this width right here. So it's about 960 pixels. This one, I believe it's a little bit less. So this one is, I believe, 954 pixels. So I don't know if you can see that, but I'm using this info tool to measure it, the marquee tool, and then if you see here the width of this is 954, so it's 6 pixels less than the actual site here. So I'm actually going to make it the full width of 960 just so it matches. So that's just something to notice here. So and the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to kind of do this temporarily, just kind of match it up here like this. I'm going to bring this up, and I'm just going to go up to the top about here a little bit more, and then I'll make this transparent so I can see what's going on. I just hit 5 on the keypad to give it 50% transparency on this layer. So I'm just going to make that transparent, use the marquee tool, come over here, drag it, and then I'm just going to arrow this right here and hit delete. So I just delete that and then go back to 100% opacity. So now this is covered again. But I do want this now to be 960 pixels, so I hit Control T, and I'm making this a little bit wider here. So it's right now it's 959 pixels. Now it's 960 if you look over here. So it's 960 by 315. So that's going to be the size of our slideshow. So now I want to actually have this guy. I'm going to, so the way we're going to build this image part right here, I mean, we could build it so we have, this cutout could be its own layer, the button could be its own layer, this could be its own layer. I'm going to keep it simple right now and just have it all one graphic, and then these 3 buttons are going to be separate HTML buttons that go on top of this whole slideshow, so you'll kind of see. But so what I'm going to do then is if I actually, I'm going to get a, I'm going to try to find a place right here that I can just repeat, like right here. I'm going to copy this, paste it. So now I have, wherever, that wasn't it. Hold on. Okay, so I copied the wrong thing. I need to make sure I'm on the layer. So I copy this, paste it. So now I have this little, like 1 pixel thing here. But if I hit Control T now, I can actually drag it and make it kind of go the rest of the way. So just for the purposes of this, I'm just going to do this so it extends the full width of this cutout that I want to do. So if I control click on this, I now have 960 by 315 pixels. I'm going to hide that. So this is the actual part that I want to cut out right here. And this is going to be my first slide. So what I will do is I'll hit Control Shift I, which will give me the reverse selection of what I have. And then on this background layer right here, I'm going to delete everything. I'm going to hide this layer. And then this layer, I'm also going to delete it. So now I just have all this stuff right here, which is the exact size and everything I want. And if I go to Image Trim, and then you can see transparent pixels to trim. So if I hit OK, it's just going to give me, it's going to kind of crop it. So I still have the right dimensions, 960 by 315. So what I'll do is I'll Control Alt Shift S to save this. And I'm just going to save this out as slide 1. I'm going to put this in my temp folder, wherever that is. Oh. Temp. So we'll save it here, slide 1, we'll call it. And then we'll get those other 2 slides right now. And the way I'm going to do this, just to save time, I'm going to keep this kind of template right here. I'm going to go here, take this second slide right here, print screen it, come over to Photoshop. I'm going to paste it in under this. I'm going to paste it under this layer right here. So if I paste it here, and then I move it around a little bit, you will see I'm just going to arrow it now with the arrow keys, just moving it. I want it there, and I want it right there. So I'm going to save this. Well, I'll just, so I don't cut off this text, I guess. We'll just do that. Save this, Control Alt Shift S, and we'll save this as slide 2. And then we'll bring in the last one here. Boom, hit it, print screen. Come back over to Photoshop. We'll paste this guy in. We'll just arrow it over real quick. Okay, so we want it right there. And we will go with that. So save for web again, slide 3. Okay, so now we have 3 slides that we're going to use to animate with our slideshow. So if I go over to our temp folder. See here we got slide 1, 2, 3, all cut out, ready to go. Boom, boom, boom. So these are the slides that we're going to want to use. We'll upload these now to our server. So I'm going to put these in the files folder for this actual Blaker business coaching, and then I have a slides folder here already. I'm going to come in and do this. So I'm dropping it in, transferring it over. So now we have these slides. So now I want to, before I actually make them animate, I'm just going to pull one of them just as an image, just to kind of make sure everything's right with the actual HTML and stuff first. So here's what I'm going to do. This is all going to be done through a block. So if I go, I'm already logged into the website here. If I go to structure blocks, and now this is kind of, it's over here because I have CSS that's just messing it up. So yours would be here to add a new block, but I like to make mine hard to find. So block, I'm going to call this block slideshow. Okay, and then I'm just going to add an image with HTML of that actual image that I uploaded. So it's located at files, Blaker business coaching /slide/slide1.jpg. So there's my image. I'm just going to have it display this. Make sure you have full HTML, very important. So it actually, it might let you do an image and filtered, but when we start adding divs and things like that, you're going to probably run into problems. So full HTML, keep that, and then we will put this in our earlier defined slideshow area, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to save this. So So here's this. Now, just to show you these block regions real quick, so these are what we created earlier when we built the template out. We want our slideshow to go here, and you'll notice it has this white background. I'm going to actually have to fix that. I should actually put the slideshow in this body area, so this, so it's above this white thing, but it still has this background going up to the top of the bottom of the navigation. So I'm going to fix that here, but we are going to want it in this area. So let me just put it in there right now. So it is called block slideshow. Just put it in the slideshow area. So there it is. I'm going to save this. And now, if we go back to this, okay, so now we have, this is what the slideshow is going to look like, but it's just the image right now, but we're going to later have this in our slideshow animating. So this is just kind of a placeholder, but it's looking kind of right. But like I said, I'm going to fix this area now. So if I go into the sorry, I actually just refreshed it. I had an older image. I'm going to I'm going to go to my sites all themes. I'm going to edit my DBD Pro theme, which is here. I'm going to pull the most recent page.tpl file. I'm going to edit that in TextPad. So now in here, I want to my slideshow. So this part, I'm actually going to, so I'm going to bring this whole, I'm actually going to just, I'm debating whether to bring the holes with the whole wrap or just the slideshow div by itself in. Right now I'm just going to bring just the slideshow in. I'm going to delete this so we're not using this anymore. And I'm going to put this, so I want it, I believe I want it here. So we're going to try this now. So this body wrap is what actually has this gradient part right here. So I want it to be in here so it actually, doesn't have this white space here. So there's that. And I'm actually going to put it back in the wrapper. So let me, because I'm putting it in the wrapper because I might need it to do 100% width here and then to center the actual slideshow with a margin type thing. And it's probably better just to leave it like this, so I'm going to do that. And then you can see here I have my my slideshow region that I'm actually rendering inside here. So just like I would do any other region. So there it is. I'm going to save that and upload it. So now if I refresh, you should see the slideshow bump down here, but it actually also might bump down to the left. I'm not sure. It probably won't. It should still be centered, but let's it should be better now. Let's see. We have, so we're waiting for it to refresh. Okay, so this is a lot better. And the only other thing I'd want to add now is just like a 30 pixel margin underneath this, but I guess we'll do that right now. So in my template CSS, I'm going to download this most recent one, and I'm just going to edit it directly here in TextPad. So I want to edit this slideshow. I don't know if I have it anywhere else. I'm going to search now, just these two places. So header, nav wrap, I'm going to put it right here, slideshow, and I'm going to go margin bottom 30 pixels. And actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to want to put this on the slideshow wrapper. So since the wrapper is floated, I don't know, that might be kind of confusing, but so I'm actually going to move this up here. So right under actually body, I'm going to put slideshow wrap margin bottom 30 pixels. So this should work. Let me re-upload this. And okay, so that's better. So we're going to leave it like this for now. Later we could adjust the margins if we needed to. Okay, so we got this. We got it looking right. So now the next part is let's actually get it to start animating. So I'm going to go back in and edit this block right here. So I no longer need this image, but I'm just gonna keep it down here for now because we're still gonna with the slideshow use it. Well, I'll just delete it for now. Okay, so to implement this slideshow, it has a documentation right here. If you go to this usage area, so it's pretty straightforward. You basically need to include these files. You need to include the CSS, which will display the way that the slideshow should work. This jQuery right here, this is typical jQuery file, and this is for the easing, and both of these files are included. And then this is the actual JavaScript that they wrote to make the slideshow work. So you need these 4 files included pretty much. So let's just throw those in our block right now. I'm going to delete this. It's tough because I don't really care for it. Okay, so here's the 4 files, and then you'll notice that we want them to be on our server with the correct path. So where we uploaded them was into the sites all modules slideshow folder, and then this could be anywhere on your server. It could be in the home public HTML. It could be in the files. Doesn't matter because you can access it from wherever. So it doesn't matter that it's in the modules folder right now because I'm not using it as a module. So let's go to LayerSlider just to make sure. You'll see for the CSS it goes LayerSlider, which I'm in that folder, CSS, and then layers. So that one will work right. jQuery. So these are all right. I just need to change this beginning part. I'm not sure. Oh, that didn't work. Modules slideshow. Okay, yeah. So I'm just gonna copy this part with that slash. So the way this is gonna look is I'm gonna delete these 2 dots here. So it's gonna be slash sites all modules slideshow LayerSlider like that. So that is because it matches this directory right here. Okay, so then these other ones, I just want to make sure that I use this same exact path. So I'm going to do that right now, add this. So delete these, paste that. Delete these, paste, and then same here. Okay, so now we're pulling these files. And just something to note, since Drupal does come with jQuery, you don't necessarily need this file right here. However, when I do jQuery a lot of the time, I notice bugs with the Drupal jQuery sometimes. Like, you might have to write things differently or do kind of weird things. So I don't think it's a bad idea to include it just in addition, just to also have it. So I'm just going to have it included just like this. So these are these files. Now we need to add a little bit more stuff. That's the basic code stuff. And then when we actually would load the script, we would just run this code right here. But let's first put our HTML together now. So this is kind of the basic structure for how this layer slider works. So it's pretty straightforward actually. You have your main container right here, slider. So this is just your main div that everything's in. And then each slide is a layer. So right here, this is the first slide. So you can see div class ls layer. This is just the first slide. And the slide can have a background, it can have multiple layers. These are all just any type of HTML you want to have, you can put in here. You just need to make sure that you give it the appropriate class, which would be for the background, lsbg. And then for these, you would just add ls-s1 sequentially. The sublayers are individual things that might animate, like text or cut out images, stuff like that. And obviously the background's just a full background image. And so this would be one layer. This would be a second layer. So in this example, this would have two slides. So let's bring this back to ours. So I'm just going to go down here a few lines, paste that in. Let's delete this. Okay, I'm going to delete this second slide right now and just work on one right now. And actually now I'm going to start doing this in TextPad, this text here. So let me just do a new document real quick. And this way we'll be able to use tab and things like that better. I'm just going to name this slideshow.php right now. So now if I actually were to tab, it would work right. So let me go. Okay, so we got this. So this is where I'm going to delete this stuff. I just don't like it. Okay, so here's our main container. I'm going to call this LayerSlider. And then here is the first layer. We only need one actual layer for this. So, because it's going to have one image. So this is how this will look so far, like this. The source now, if you remember earlier, was files, Blaker, business, coaching, slides/slide1.jpg. So there's that. You don't necessarily need this alt, so let's just get rid of that. And what else? So this, I think, is about right for that. LayerSlider, ls layer. So I'm going to add the other two slides also. So that's slide 1. There's 2, 3. Okay, so I would just change these to slide 3 and slide 2. So now it has these 3 separate images that are part of these slides. And this should be looking pretty good. Now it's not going to quite work right, obviously. So if I were to save this, paste it in, and then actually save this, you'll see that it's not going to look right. Because let's see. Okay, so I would think though it would have shown an image at least, but it's not even showing that, which is kind of weird. I'm not quite sure why. Let's go back to that block. Okay, I bet the reason why I already have a slideshow module, and it's probably for some reason interfering with this. So I'm just gonna disable this module real quick because I think that's gonna cause problems. Okay, so I'm going to my modules page, slideshow. If I now disable that and save this configuration, hopefully this will fix it. Nope. Okay. Well, okay, let's go back to this block. It's really kind of weird. If I were to just put this image here, you would think that that would now show up here. Okay, so that does, but when it's in the it's probably, I guess, because that CSS probably, if I'm guessing, so I guess that makes sense. So in this LayerSlider CSS, it's probably hiding the actual that is probably what's going on. Not that it really matters, but I would bet it's something along those lines where these layers are probably being hidden somehow. So display none. So that's why. So CSS was not displaying it. So that's normal. Okay. So anyway, now you know. Now I know. Let's delete that again. So this stuff's good. It's just these divs are being hidden. So let's move on. So that's good. We need to now. The next step is to. So you load it like this. And when you do this, I believe there's some different, yeah, so you can do all these different kind of parameters. We only need, I don't think we need any of these. We might need to change the skin to no skin, so it's just not even using a skin. But we'll see. And then what else? We'll just go with the default and see what happens. So I actually copied this. I'm just going to paste this over here. I'm going to go. So to actually call it, you need to do another script here. You need to create a JavaScript area. And here it is. But I'm going to delete all this because I don't want any of this right now. And I'm just going to call it like so. Except one other thing. I do want to, let's see, auto start first layer. Well, let's just call it regular like so. So slider, layer slider, ours now just to make sure. We named ours from slider to layer slider, so I'm going to make sure we target it correctly. Rather than slider, it's calling the ID layer slider. So there's that. Here's the script. Now hopefully if I run this, I might need to actually though run it through a let me see, like generally when you run JavaScript, you want to do, for something like this, you'd want to go document ready function and then call it this way, so then when the actual document finishes loading, it will call it. So I'm going to run it like so, and this should do it. So let me copy this, paste it here. Okay, so now we're all updated with that. I'm going to save this block. Okay, let's refresh this. I apologize for this taking a while. It doesn't seem to be working. I'm going to refresh it one more time. Let's see here. Running the script. Okay. Now I'm just going to make sure that this JavaScript is actually running. So if I do something like alert here, this should give me a pop-up alert when the actual page finishes loading. So just to make sure that I'm actually running the code correctly. Let's make sure here. Okay, so that is executing correctly, but it's not loading in the layer slider like I would like. So, I'm wondering if it's. Just gonna see where else they have this on here. There's that, no. I'm going to actually just open up my module that I have real quick just to see how I'm calling it in here, because maybe there's something I'm missing here. That's really weird. Okay, so script, layer slider. Maybe for some reason I might need to have a skin. I don't know. I'm just gonna, just in case, I'm going to add it, but it's really weird. With, I think maybe this might be why also, if I'm not, maybe I don't have an actual size. I think maybe this is it. Let's try this. So back to here. Okay, so add a style width. Maybe this is why. So I'm going to do width 960 pixels, height 315 pixels. Okay, and I'll take this out for now. Maybe this is why, who knows. I thought I knew. Okay, like so. Let's do this. Alright, well, there we go. Okay, and then you can see actually it is now animating and doing the slide correctly, which is good. And we don't have any skin, so we don't have any buttons or anything to control the movement of this, but we do have it working now. So the part that was wrong was this layer slider. It needed to have a width and a height defined, and mine obviously didn't. And I'm not sure if you could do this with CSS or not. I know in their documentation there is a warning right here that you must use a style tag if you want to add percentage values. Well, so we're probably okay since we're not adding percentages, but even so, I'm adding it. I'm just kind of hard coding it into the HTML like they did here. But now that that's working, let's move on. So So this is where we're at right now. We have the slides working. Now I want to make them fade. So the way to do a fade here is, I'm just going to search that real quick. You have a slide direction. And in here it basically tells you that you need to have the slide direction fade on sublayers also. So what I'm going to do now is you do it like so. So on this layer you'd add this slide direction fade like that. So, and then we also would add this to the layer. So you'd add it to the main layer and then the actual element in the layer. And it's important to know, at least with this, it can't be called BG. It has to be an actual layer like this. So just something important to know. There. So now if I run this, it hopefully should fade rather than slide. So let's go back to here. We're going to edit this one more time. And we're going to paste this in with the fades now. So hopefully we will see some type of fade. Alright, well, I think it automatically always fades in like that, so let's see if it goes. Okay, so now we got the fade. So that's working right now. What we want to add is this next piece, this kind of click navigation element. So to do that, we're going to go back into Photoshop and we'll do the design aspect of this first, and then we will program it to work right. So I pasted in this screenshot again. All I'm going to do this is I'm going to cut these first two out, these first two tabs. This one is obviously going to be the on state. This one is going to be the off state. And we'll go from there. So here's what I'm just going to kind of do this how I would do this in Photoshop. I'm just going to kind of separate this stuff out. I'm going to pull this like so. I'm going to just kind of trim this out a little bit. So what we're going to do, the reason why we're cutting them both out is because with CSS, I'm just going to assign this as a background. And then when you hover it, I'm just going to move the background up so that it's just one image that just moves based on whether you're hovering it or not. And here, okay, we could go one more pixel over. So let's just keep trimming this a little bit. And then might be able to pull this off with the magic wand. Probably not the best thing to do. I'm not going to do that. So let's just keep going. I'm trimming these. I'm going to zoom in a little bit now just to kind of see if I can get this right. So here's this. I'm using this polygon lasso tool. I just moved it kind of where I'm just kind of eyeballing this, but that's not going to work. So I'm just going to go one more. And then this gets a little tricky here. Let's go about right here maybe. And then we'll delete it here. I'm going to hit the marquee tool again here. Hold down Alt to undo this because I don't want to go over into here. I just want to delete that part. So let's just delete that part then. And now let's continue on here. We want this area right here. And then once again, M, Alt, and then I'm clicking and dragging, and I don't want this area, but that's okay. So like that. And one more. Let's see. Like this. Now, I'm not sure if this is the best way. Normally these would just be created, which I guess I'm going to do anyway. You just create it from scratch. I'm just trying to salvage this. But if I do a black background, I did have a little bit of orange in here, or that gold color, but it's not too bad. What I'm going to do is just do one of these right now. So let's take this top one, and I'm just going to copy this and paste it onto its own layer. So now I just have this isolated. And the way I will do this is let's bring back the so this right here, just to make sure it looks right. I just print screen that. I'm gonna paste it in here. I want to line this up, so I want to just make sure that when I have 3 of these on top of each other, that it's going to be the right height. So I'm going to have it like this, this, and this. So, and that'll work perfect. So this is the right height because I'm not a pixel too low or pixel too high. It's perfect, so that's good. So that's the right height. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to redo these colors myself, this gradient. So what I'm going to do here, so this, double click the layer, this one, and in here I'm going to add a gradient overlay. So now it's just a gradient. And I want to have the bottom color this right here, so like that. And I want this top color to be like so, about there. So now it's, pretty close. And then I want to give it a stroke of 1 pixel like this has on the inside, and I want this color to be, this color, so like that. So there is that. Now this is a little bit better, just hopefully should be better. So we'll go with that. And now for this one underneath it, I'm going to duplicate this down, hold Alt Shift, and then drag it. So now I have this one, and this is going to be the actual on, the top one's the active state. This is just going to be the default state down here. So if I edit this now, I'm just going to tweak this gradient again, and I probably could remove the stroke and just this gradient. We're going to go this as the bottom color right here, and this as the top. So we got it. So there it is. So now these are our 2 tabs that we're going to be using, and then the third one would be like so. But that's how it's going to look. And then we'll do the actual text on top of this. So there's that and that. I'm going to save these 2 out now as kind of a sprite. So I'm going to hide everything else. These are the 2 finished tabs. So, and you could obviously come back and tweak these later or whatever, but for now this is okay. I'm just going to trim it as transparent like this. Okay, note that this part's transparent because it's going to go on top of the background part. So I don't want to save this as a JPEG. I want to save it as a ping24, so it has a transparency. So make sure that you have transparency. You can see there it's transparent. So I'm going to save this, and I'll just save this as like a slideshow tab. Alright, so there's that. Let's save it into this temp folder. That's fine. So there's that. And now you can upload this. I guess you would probably want to upload it where you have your actual slideshow stuff. I'm just going to upload this to my maybe I'll upload it to the DBD Pro template, maybe, or yeah, might as well. So we'll go all themes, DBD Pro, files, and then I want to upload this guy, slideshow tab. So that's in there. Okay, so now we got our tab. So we're gonna want to add the HTML and position it. So let's go back and edit it in here, this block. So we have our slideshow and this kind of stuff. We have this running. I'm going to want to add it. Let's add it here under this. So we're going to call this div ID equals slideshow tab. So that's what we're going to call it. And inside of this, and actually I should be editing this in here. So let me just edit this in here. We're going to call this, we're going to put this in a list, probably. Yeah, we'll put it in a list. So, like so, li. Okay, so each li is going to be the actual tab. But in here we're going to have some text. Let's call this, so the title part will be in H3, let's say. So I'm just going to keep editing this right. This will be in H3. Let's just grab a title right now. So we'll call this program coverages. And then trying to get this text. Okay, so I'm just going to grab this HTML right here. Okay, so program coverages is going to be the H3. And underneath it, we'll just have another div with this. And we'll just put it all together here like this. Okay, so that's how we're going to mark this up right here. So H3, actually let's put this in a paragraph. Like so. Okay, so there's that. And we're going to want to have 3 of these for the 3 tabs. So let's just add those. Okay, so here's how our HTML is going to look. And we will, let's now start editing the CSS to get this looking right. So copy this, cruise over to this block here, paste it in. So now this is updated. Okay, so this is going to be the navigation part. You'll notice here I'm not using any anchor tags because you don't really need to with JavaScript, because you can just, with CSS you can make it show the cursor and then you can just use the JavaScript click function, so you don't really need an anchor tag. So anyway, so I'm going to edit the CSS now through this web developer toolbar. I'm just going to go to embedded styles, which is this last tab here, and I'm just going to start jamming right here. So we called the slide, the tab part, slideshow tab, I believe. So if we float left position, let's see here, absolute. Okay, so we actually might go relative, no, absolute actually. Absolute, okay, let's see here. So I'm going absolute, so it pulls everything up top here. So if I were to go relative, it would still keep this part down here, but I want it to come up like this thing doesn't exist. I just want it to kind of float absolutely like this. So I'm doing this, and I'm actually going to position it to pull it up now to the top. But before I do that, I just kind of want to put these images in so that it looks right. So slideshow tab. So we're going to go li, and we're going to go background, and this is going to be the background image, the one that we uploaded to sites, all themes, DVD Pro, files, slideshow tab.ping. Okay, so there's that background now. And we want to, so yeah, we're going to tweak it a little bit here, but right now it's looking good. Let's, okay, let's start moving this up a little bit. So you could go a few ways. You could go top and then do a negative value, like 200 pixels, I think. And then you'd want to make sure that the Z index is something on top of, something on top of this layer slider. And I'm actually not sure what the Z index is right now on this layer slider, but let's see, layer slider, Z index 5. Okay, so Okay, and I'm not too sure exactly what's going on. I'm just kind of messing around here until I figure this out. But it's something along these lines, I think. Let me just go here. Oh, okay, yeah, so that is right. So since I think, oops. Okay, yeah, so I just really needed to do top 0 because since it's using absolute and not relative, I believe it goes off the parent item. So just CSS thing, but okay, so that's cool. I'm not sure if I need this or not. Probably not, maybe. That's okay. So I'm gonna take this out again. Let's see if I need this. I don't think I do. Okay, that's fine. So we'll leave it like this here. So now it's kind of where it needs to be here. I obviously don't want these dots, so list style none. Get rid of that. And then the width of these LIs it's going to end where that tip part is, but let's give it a little bit of padding, 20 pixels or so. Let's theme some of this other stuff. Slideshow tab H3. So the H3 we're going to want to go font family. And I actually added here earlier on the template this Trahan BD, and that is going to be what we want, I believe. So let's go with that. So that's okay. Font size 25 pixels. Not bad. We'll go like 22 or so maybe for now. That still might be a bit big, I don't know, but that's okay. And then the comprehensive coverage part, let's just, now you could do the color here. I'm actually, maybe the opacity might just be the way to go here. Just kind of drop that opacity a little bit to lighten it up. And I'm actually, I don't even know what colors are being used on this stuff. Okay, so that's how this one looks. Okay, so we'll go white on the H3 here. And this is actually kind of darker. Interesting. Let's grab that color. And this, I believe, is just white. Okay, so so let's make this color that one color that we had here, and then this will make white, and then I'm going to get the actual hover part working. So we will get that going here in a second. Let's change this width here. .307 pixels. Let's go with that. And then you can see it's still got a little bit of a gap, so we could just up this padding a little bit more, or we could just up the height a little bit more. Something, I'm not quite sure which one, but make this a little bit bigger. 12 pixels. That might bump it. No. Okay. I don't want this to extend. I don't want this text to extend all the way, so we'll just do like 280 pixels. And we might need to change that later. And let's see here. What else? Just make this a little bit bigger. And we'll just run with that for now. So now we have kind of the right spacing with everything. And So that's this CSS for the tabs. And I'm actually I think in Firefox and Chrome and some browsers you could pull off the hover effect without using an anchor. But now that I think about it, you probably are going to want to add the anchor tag, just because like maybe Internet Explorer, certain browsers might have issues with it. So to show you what I mean, let me just add this CSS real quick. So we'll just add it here. Style, that style. Okay, so now we have the CSS. And we have here, we have this. Okay, so I'm going to want to add an anchor right here. But let me go back into this program. Okay, let's go anchor. And I guess we could indent this. Okay, so we'll just do this twice, like so. And we will just think in 1 second, because then we will I'm not quite sure whether the anchor should be outside of this or inside. I mean, you could pull it off either way, but I'm just trying to think in the future, because in the future we're going to be adding a class to these, and I just want to make sure we're hitting the right. I'd want to do it kind of semantically the right way. It's kind of weird. Well, let's go with this for now. I think I'm going to just take this list element out, this whole thing. Let's just move these for now. I think I'm gonna try it like so, like this. So let's give this a shot. See how this goes. I might just rather just do it this way. Okay, so back to here. Let's put this. But yeah, we'll just edit it here. Okay. So if we save that. Okay, so now we got these guys. Now I'm going to go back and edit the CSS a little bit again. Okay. Okay, so here's our CSS. I'm just gonna grab it like this right here. Okay, we want this to be on the A now. We don't need this. And we're gonna want to float this like so. Okay, and now it's looking about the way it should. Okay, so now when we actually hover this, I kind of built it backwards. I should have put this one on the top, because that's the default one, and then this one on the bottom. That's kind of the way to normally do it. So I'm actually going to do it this way. So let me just resave this as the same name. And let's go to upload it. Okay, so now when we go back here, I'm just going to copy this temporarily and refresh the page. So you should see it come up darker now once I come in and add the CSS back. Okay, so we're refreshed. So I just should have that image refreshed now. So when I come in here and edit the CSS, like so. Like this. There we go. So now it's got the darker one. Anyway, so what we want to do here is take this and go. So when we hover, now we're going to go background position, and we want to move this. So just to kind of show you, when I hover it, you can see it moved it down and to the right. We want to move it 0 here, and we want to move it. We want to move this up. Is this done? Yeah, we want to move this up like this, so negative, and then it'd just be pretty much the height of it, which would be, I guess, about 105 pixels. So we'll try that. So move this 105. So when you hover over it now, you can see you're getting the right kind of look, and it's just using that one image. And you can see if I was a few pixels off, like 103, it would not quite look right. But anyway, so there's that hover effect, and then you're going to want to, in that hover, we would also change these colors a little bit. So right now this is the default colors, but in here, let's just move this down a little bit, make this a little bit less confusing. A hover. So the H3 now, we're going to want to change that color when you hover over it. I'm not quite sure what yet. And this also this P, when we hover, we're going to want to change the color. I'm not quite sure what yet, but so anyway, we're going to change these. And also one other thing is you don't want to display that line underneath it, so text decoration none. So now we don't have that line, and that's cool. So here, color wise, we'd want to, let's just go with this color. This is what we're going to change it to, and you can see it has a shadow, which we'll add also, and then it's a lighter text. We'll get that in a second. So here, color is there. So now we got the right color. Let's get the paragraph color. So here, paragraph. This might be the same. Let's see. A little bit different. Okay, so here, got the paragraph. Now we need to get that shadow aspect. So to do that, we were here, and so it looks like just a white shadow, I guess. I think so. So we'll just add a white shadow. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so that's on this H3. So text shadow. 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 1 pixel. Let's go white. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, that's cool. And then I'm actually wonder if this this might actually look good with a shadow. More like maybe not like that, but something along these lines maybe. Yeah, I think that might help it a little bit. I don't know. We could have a shadow on that, maybe not, but it's kind of cool. Let's see here. Without it, let's see what it looks like. I don't know. I kind of like it more with it, the shadow, but let's keep that shadow. Okay, so boom, 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 like that. So now we got the this part looking right, and you can see this is still doing the stuff it should underneath it and everything. That's fine. But the only thing is, we want, when you click this, but let me just, before I mess this up, let me just save this CSS. So okay, I'm going to go back in here, configure this block. I'm going to put this new CSS in. So now this making this part look right in here. So we will go with that. Okay. Okay, so now what we want to do is the final piece, which is we have 3 slides. We want this to be the first slide, this to be the second slide, and this to be the third slide, obviously. So when we click it, right now nothing happens because it's not programmed for anything to happen with JavaScript. The nice thing about this layer slider is it does have a little kind of bit of an API where it can tell you the current slide that it's on, the next slide that it's going to be on. You can, when something happens, like an animation starts, you can call back your own function in JavaScript, and you can also control it just by, if you want to take it to the second slide, you could just target it and say layer slider 2, and then it'll go to the second slide. So you can kind of do that. So we're going to tap into that a little bit to make this work. So the way we will do that is one other thing. Let's make it so when you hover over this, it does this kind of thing, this hover effect. You also are obviously going to want to have the active one, whatever section is active, have this same effect. So to do that, I'm going to come in here, and by default I'm going to give a class to this this anchor right here. I'm going to call it active, so that the active one, it has the same CSS as the hover. So you'll see what I mean here. Okay, so now it's active, but I need to edit the CSS one more time. We're going to go over here, embedded styles. Okay, so let's grab this here and let's delete this stuff. Okay, so now if I were to go Slideshow tab a.active, and then I were to do something like background red, so you can see that one is active right now. So I'm going to actually, though, I just want to use the same CSS as the hover, so I'm just going to go here and add comma, so now it's using that. And then I want to go here and also do active h3 comma, so now it's using that same CSS. And here active p comma, so now it's got the same paragraph. Yeah, so it did change that color a little bit lighter. Okay, so there's that. So when I hover, it does it, and just whichever one is marked as active with CSS is also getting that effect. That's important because when we use JavaScript, in order to change the way, to change which one is currently on, we're just going to change the, class of the anchor. So this one this one's active right now, but with JavaScript we're going to remove this, and this one's now going to be active when the second slide comes up. So let's redo this CSS right here. Okay, so there is that. We're good. Let's save this. Okay. And it's saving. So back here on this layer slider, so this API, the way this is going to work is we first, anytime a slide changes, we need to know that that's happening. So it's taking a while to refresh. So we need to know when the slide changes. So right now nothing's happening, but right about there, so we just had a change. Since that happened, this over here needs to know about this. So you're going to see it happen again. I think it's every 8,000 seconds or something, but that change, it needs to know on this end what just happened. So the way to know about that is here, this CB anim start that that this has as a callback, you can read it, calling when animation starts. So when an animation starts, what happens is it'll notify us about that, and then we can do our custom code here. So the way that works is, if I edit this one more time, configure block. So when you call this in here, you remember that there were certain parameters that we could have given it. And let me copy this and go back into this program. Okay, so you remember that there were certain things that we could have added here, like so you have all this stuff, and one of the things that you might want to add, which we're going to add, would be this one right here. And this is what allows us to, when the animation happens, every time it goes to a new slide, basically, it's going to let us call our own callback function, which is going to allow us to do our custom code. So anyway, so the way this would work is we would have our own function. So let me first just show you here. So in here we would go function, and we would call this, let's say, Slideshow callback. Okay, so I just created a JavaScript function, Slideshow callback, and we're going to call this function right in here. So now every time this slideshow goes to a new slide, it's going to call this. So whatever we do in here, like an alert, for instance, that should now, let me save that. So this now, it should alert us hello every time it goes to a new slide. So let's just make sure that works. So here, I'm going to paste that in, save this. And we'll wait for this update to take place. Okay, so I'm waiting right now for this new slide, but when this happens, we should get an alert saying hello. So we'll just wait, chill out a little bit, and there it is. So right now, it's just about to go to the new slide. When I hit OK, you'll see it's going to fade. So boom. So that's what we want. So we want to be able to do something when that slide happens. Now, what we want to do is we want to change this CSS right here to correspond to the current slide that it's on. So the way we do that is, you can see it keeps telling me hello in here. So at any point we can access some of the current variables. We have this LayerSlider data object that carries all the stuff that we might want to know about what's going on here. So you can see these are just some examples, and this is kind of how you would use it. So you can see right here this code I'm going to copy, and if we go back to here, so rather than alerting hello, I actually want to go over here, and so we need to make sure. Okay, so yeah, anyway, so I'm going to first get that variable, which is, you need to locate your LayerSlider. So in our case, it's going to be LayerSlider, which is the ID of our LayerSlider. So we pull our LayerSlider, and then we're going to pull this data right here, and then we're going to save this to a ls data variable. So all this data is going to be in here. So for instance, now that once we save this, we could alert the current layer index. So if it was on slide 1, it would put 1. If it was on slide 2, it would put 2. So we're going to want to do this, except we're not going to want to use the current layer index. We're going to want to use the next layer index, so we know which one's coming next, so that we can make those buttons work appropriately. Okay, so the way that would work then is I'm just going to alert this, but let me just actually write this to a variable. So here's where we go. So this, and then this here is oh, sorry. So we're going to call this next index, and it's going to be this data right here. So we're going to alert what the next index is, and that's based on what LayerSlider is telling us, and it's telling us every time this animation starts. So if I save this, let's save that. Okay, copy this over to here. You can see it's still telling us hello, which I'm okay with. Okay, so now we got, I like that. So there's that. And hopefully, oh, I was hoping for one more hello. But now, okay, it's not going to say hello this time. Now, it should give us what the next slide ID is going to be. So, it says 2. Right now, we're currently on 1. So, the next slide is going to be 2. That's why it told us 2. So, right now, we're on slide 2. The next slide is going to be 3. So, it should tell us 3. So, that's correct. And now, since we're on 3, and there's only 3 slides, the next slide is not going to be 4, it's going to be 1. So there you have it. So that's working right. So it's important that we have that, because with that number, that's dynamic and working correctly. Now with that number, what we're going to do is, okay, this is going to have to go. So with, let me just delete this guy. So we know that we're getting the next index number appropriately. So we can do whatever we want in our JavaScript with this now. I'm going to refresh, I'm going to re-upload this code, resave it. Oh, it wanted to tell me 1. I appreciate that. Okay, so now you'll notice that these are, so we have 1 anchor tag, 2 anchor tags, 3 anchor tags. So we have 3 anchor tags. We want the current active one to correspond to the current slide. So this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. So here you got, this is the first one, this is the second, and this is the third. Now we're going to access this with JavaScript, but with JavaScript, it's not numbered 1, 2, 3, it's numbered how most programs are numbered, which would be 0, 1, 2. So this is actually anchor 0, anchor 1, anchor 2. So when we access this, we're not going to call it 1, we're going to call it 0. This one's not going to be 2, it's going to be 1. So a little bit confusing, but it's not that big of a deal. So let's try this out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to edit this code to add a little bit of jQuery here. So just to show you, we will access this. So it's going to be Slideshow tab. So we want to go into here, this Slideshow tab, and then we're going to want to hit the first or whichever current anchor tag that we're using. So Slideshow tab A, and then we're going to want to add a class, and that class is going to be called active. Now, why we're calling that active is because you'll notice here we have this anchor active class. So what we're going to be doing is giving it this class through JavaScript right here. So what this will do, right now it's not quite set up to work correctly because it's going to work, but it's going to change this for every A. But we're going to want to start changing it for just specific ones. But let me just upload this just so you can see. And what should happen now is when the slide changes, it should update all 3 of these to be active, which will make them all look like that first one. So that's what should happen. Let's see. Okay, so here we are. Now it's going to change here, and these should all go like active. Let's see what happens. There you have it. Okay, so that's correct. That's working how we want. So now let's open this back. So now a cool thing with jQuery is they have this EQ right here that I can use. I actually don't know what it stands for, but it basically lets you selecting the number that this anchor tag is showing up in this hierarchy. So this is 0. If I wanted to access this one, I would put EQ 0 so it knows to hit this 0 index one. This one is 1 and this one is 2. So I'm just going to show you. I'm going to access this third one, but it's actually going to be on index 2. So now when I run this code, it should not, it's just going to make this bottom one active. So let's just show you that. So we want just the bottom one active here. So okay, so here we are. I'm just going to wait for this to run. Boom. Okay, so see, this one got active, but this one's not because we're only calling this one. This one is active because it was active all along. So the next step obviously is going to be to unactivate this one. So let me show you that. Well, yeah, let's load this. Let's go here. So okay, so that's fine. Now to unactivate the other one, we want to go here. We want to Slideshow tab. Okay, so we're going to A, and then what we're going to do actually is we're going to remove this CSS class, and we're going to remove it for everything. So what this does now is every time a new slide comes in, it's going to remove that active class for everything, and then it's going to add this new class for whichever one we pick. In this case, the second one, or the third, with the index of 2. So let me save this just so you can see. Now what this will do, okay, so yeah, it just happened. So sorry, I wasn't paying attention and I just missed it, but that's what we wanted. So let me do this one more time. It starts out, we start out with it active here. Nothing else is active. This is going to lose the active class. This one is going to get the active class. So that's right. The only problem now is obviously it's not hitting the right, it's not lining up correctly because it's just kind of hard-coded. We want it to be dynamic to use this next index variable. So the way we would do that is we would put that in here, but the only problem is next index is 1, 2, and 3, where these are 0, 1, and 2. So we're going to want to just take away 1 from next index. So if the next index is 3, we want it to show 2. If the next index is 2, if it's showing the second slide next, we want it to give us 1. And if it's showing 1, we want it to give us 0. So I hope that makes sense. So the way what we would do is we'd put next index minus 1. So now whatever the next index is, we're going to access that minus 1 here. So that should make sense, kind of. I'm going to give it a go. Here, boom, there, paste it in. There we go. Let's save that. Okay, so we should now have it work right. It should go to the second one. Boom. So there it is. Let's make sure we hit the third one now. It's going to hit it. And now it should go back to the first because it's going to be 1 minus 1, which is 0. So okay, I actually just cut out because I got low on hard drive space, so this recording program had to quit, but I just cleared some space up, so I'm back. So anyway, we got this pretty much working. We're almost done here anyway. So let me just wrap this up. So this part works right. The only piece now missing is when I click this, nothing happens. So we want to be able to click this and have it take us to the right section. So that is going to be one more piece of JavaScript code. So, and there's a few ways you could do that. For instance, I could, well, let me just go back here. So you could hard code some JavaScript in right here, just like on click, and then whatever you want to have happen, you could have happen like a some type of function or whatever. I'm gonna do it with jQuery and do it outside of the HTML. I'm just going to do it straight through JavaScript. So let me show you here real quick. So we have this one other part of the LayerSlider API. We can access you can control the slider directly by calling something like this. So if I want to go to a specific slide, you would just put here slider, you would put the wherever it's located, LayerSlider, and then the slide number. So I'm going to do this because that is relevant to my interests. Okay, so back here, what I'm going to do is so we're going to create one other thing in here. Actually, we should be able to pull it off in here. So in this document ready function where we actually initialize and call this LayerSlider, we're going to add one other part. Okay, so we want to do this when we click on a link here. So the way we're going to do this is, so it's going to be it's under Slideshow tab A. So this, and then click function like so. Okay, and then here, here, here. So basically, not a clock. Click. Okay, so basically, when we click this is just saying when you click a anchor right here. When you click on this, I want it to do something. So just to make sure this works, let's just alert something just to check. Hello. So when we click, we're going to alert hello. So that sounds good to me. So let's I got that copied. Let's go back over here and paste it in. Okay. Let's save this. Let's close this. Okay, so I'm going to click this and it says hello. So I'm using that JavaScript function to do something every time I click. So now when I click, what I'm going to want to do is take this to the next slide, or not to the next slide, but to whichever slide I designate based off which button I'm pressing. So here's how we'll do that. We will go back into this code right here, and we got the so in here now, you remember I showed you this guy, let's copy this. So this basically tells this slideshow to go wherever we tell it to go. So if we put that here and make sure that you target it correctly, it's called LayerSlider because that is what this ID is for it. So you just use whatever ID. So LayerSlider, and then so 2 would take you to the second slide, 3 would take you to the third. So right now I'm going to make it when you hit any button, it's going to take you to the third slide. So copy this, paste it in. So now no matter what button I hit, it will take you to the third slide, hopefully. So I'm going to hit the second one and it should take me to the third slide anyway. So here it is loaded. I'm going to hit it, boom, and it took me to the third slide. I mean, that is the third one. I mean, they all look kind of the same, but it is. You'll notice when I hit that, it activated this third button automatically, because every time this changes a direction, you'll remember that it calls, where are we here? So every time that this there's an animation happening, so every time it goes to a new slide, it calls slideshow callback. So in slideshow callback, you'll notice that we have it updating the actual button tab here. So it's kind of cool. So we don't even need to update this when we actually click it, because what updates it is when this changes. So it automatically, when we click, it's going to do that. So it's pretty cool. So let's move on. So the only thing now, we just want this dynamic. We want it to be the actual whatever number we're on here. So the way we do that is we're going to call here. You got this. So that's going to access the actual thing that I'm on right here, this, and then if you call index, that's going to pull the index. So this index will pull the index. This is 0, 1, 2 like we talked about, so that's what I'm going to get from that. So if I go over here to I'm going to save this in a variable and call this right here, we're going to call this index, let's say list, or let's say just anchor index or tab index, let's say. So tab index equals this dot index. So this is going to be whatever link we click on's index, so 0, 1, or 2. So if I take that now, and we're going to want to put this in here, the only problem is you'll remember the actual slide is one more than this, because the slides don't start at 0, the slides start at 1. So it's not going to be 0, 1, 2, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, even though these are 0, 1, 2. So tab index plus 1, just kind of like how here we did the next index minus 1. So here we're going to add 1 because we want it to be one more than this. So hopefully this should do this. Let's try this code out here. Configure block. Okay, I'm going to paste that in. And this hopefully should complete our slideshow. Let's give it a check. There it is. I'm going to click the third one, and you'll notice that it did not work as I wanted it to, which is very unfortunate. So this, I don't think it's working. So let me go and edit this a little bit and see where we're going wrong here. Something's not right. Tab index equals this dot index. Let's see here. So tab A. That's not right. That's weird. So that's, well, let's see what this is giving back for tab index. So we'll just comment this out for a second, like that. So we'll alert the tab index. Hopefully we're getting something. Otherwise, one moment, please. Getting a phone call. Hold on. I'm now sending a text message. Hold on. I apologize for this. Okay, so I'm going to click one now. And let's see if it actually... Okay, so that's right. Okay, I got 2 here. Oh, I see what's going on. So that's unfortunate. It's actually giving me back... I think it's actually counting each this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think maybe, I don't even know what. So 0, that's 0. If this is 2, and this is 4. Huh, that's weird. So it's not getting this index right for some reason. The reason unknown. And I'm not too happy about that. Okay, so I'm actually... I guess the reason why it's not working is I need to target this a little bit differently. So I actually want to target my slideshow tab A, and I want to call the index on this. So this right here now should here work. Let me paste this in, save this block, and here. So if I hit this, there's 1, that's right. There's 2, that's right. 0. Okay, so we're good there. let's go back and uncomment this part out now, and let's get rid of this. So everything should be working appropriately. I'm going to save this, copy it, and paste this in one last time. And hopefully this will be the end of it. So let's see. Okay, so now I'm going to click this third one, and there it goes. There we go. Number 2. So this does seem to be working appropriately now, which is awesome. So there's obviously more stuff we could do on this, but this kind of is covering it for now. We could make it fade quicker, make it fade slower. We could fade it different ways. It doesn't have to fade. It could slide. This text could be different. So there's different things, but this does kind of, I think, show you the basics kind of from start to finish, how to work off a Slideshow and also customize it a little bit with our own little bit of CSS and JavaScript here. So just to recap, to show you what's going on here. So we got our main styles right here that come. These are the files that come with the Slideshow that we got. We then added it in here like so. Each slide is its own layer like this. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So this is all this. We add this style onto here to make it so it shows up, so we actually have a width and a height, so you can actually see the stuff inside of it. We then, once we have all that, we add a on document ready right here, and in there we call this LayerSlider. We target the LayerSlider ID. We call the LayerSlider, which gets our Slideshow working using the LayerSlider function in here probably. So then okay, so now once we have that working, we want to add the actual tabs. We add the tabs just with some custom, however we want to mark up our HTML, which I chose to do it like so. And then we style that to look right. I styled it to float it and position it absolutely on top of this LayerSlider. So that pulls it on top like that. And then once we have it styled, we want to start making it sync together and work right. So we do that by we then have this Slideshow callback, which happens every time an animation begins. So every time an animation starts, it's calling Slideshow callback, which is this guy right here, which is a little custom function we did. And what this basically does is it pulls the data object from LayerSlider, which LayerSlider provides. We save it here, ls data. We then, with that object, we access the next layer index. Save that to a variable. And then every time this is happening, we remove the current class active, which is by default on this first one right here. We remove the active class, so it removes it for everything if it's there, and then we add the class to whichever index is now active. So that's the callback function. So, and then the one other piece is when we actually click on one of the tabs. So if we click on this A or this A or this A, we want it to go to the appropriate slide. So to do that, on this in here, same place that we started this slider, we also have another click function here, where any of the A's here, these anchors, when they're clicked, we have it find the current index of it, like so. So if this one's 0, 1, 2, we get that index, and then we call this LayerSlider function that basically tells the slider to go to that index. And we add 1 to it just because these start at 0, the slides start at 1. So we just add 1 to make sure that it's the same. And so that's pretty much how that works. And there you have it. That's how it looks. So thanks everybody for joining me with that, and hopefully you learned something good there. Take care.